Now that is just such a fabulous sight and a fabulous sound. Water, crystal clear water coming out here. Now I will put a link up in the top right hand corner to one of the first videos we made when we started here in Finca Labrador about the water reservoir, and the state of repair of the water reservoir, which is over there. So one of our first tasks here was to endeavour to repair that, which you will now see we have managed to do, in order to have a recipient to capture water from the spring that we have here, which is our only source of water here. The spring, that is. We're about 2 kilometers from the house, 140 meters down. The house is up over that ridge and down, and then over another ridge, about 2 kilometers, and we're 140 meters below the level of the house. This is one of the largest flat areas that we have, which we want to bring into cultivation, which is one of the reasons we wanted to get the water reservoir back into operation. Now, if you go and have a look at that video, you will see that apart from the fact that there were 9 pine trees growing inside it, no less, and about half a meter of soil had accumulated because it had been left for 50 or 60 years or possibly more. Apart from that fact, because everything here is built so well, or was built so well, it was more or less in a state of repair that could be recovered. So with a little bit of work that you can probably see to the top area, those are the original stones that were on it, those flat stones, all worked. So we now have it in operation. It looks a bit green at the moment because I haven't been able to come down here and the water from the spring stopped flowing into it. So, but I'm just draining some out now, which is what I've got going over there, and I've got the water running back into it. The problem is that this is about 100 meters from the spring itself, which is a seep. It comes out of the ground. So this is gravity fed. What you can see running in there from that pipe, which is about 200 or 300 liters an hour, which may not sound like very much, but in 24 hours, in one day, you've got to remember that this doesn't stop. It's just that continuous. It's having the tap open all of the time, to between 200 and 300 liters an hour. That's 5 cubic meters of water every single day. Every single day. So that's enough for irrigation, certainly in this area. Initially, but that's gravity fed. So there are a couple of points where the drop isn't the minimum 2% that we need, and so it doesn't. It sometimes it gets an airlock, or if wildlife knocks the pipe slightly, then it stops running into here and runs straight out around the spring. So that's the problem we've got, which isn't as big a problem as the ones that we had before this was put back into operation. But now that holds 27,000 litres of water, about half the size of a swimming pool perhaps, a little less. So with that reserve and 5 cubic meters of water a day in the summer, we're going to have enough water to irrigate a fairly large area if we plan it correctly, and that will mostly be drip irrigation. which uses less water. There will be some sprinklers, but mostly drip irrigation. So yeah, that's what that means, that we can bring this into cultivation. This can be a vegetable garden. We can have some barley here, some wheat in a line along there. There's a long line along there. We're thinking of strawberries, blueberries, and a decent vegetable garden. The only inconvenience with this is that it is so far from the house. But at the moment, this is where we have the water and the possibility of putting in an irrigation system. So the next video will be on the installation of the irrigation system, which I'm going to do as soon as possible. I'm going to need to build a little shelter so that that can be under cover and get an irrigation system in for this area here, which will eventually extend a little bit further up the track, and to the right we've got some terracing where those pine trees are. Those pine trees are going to come up. There's a lot of terracing, so but this is going to be phase one here, and then we'll extend it to some terracing, 10 or 11 terraces that we've got over there, if things work out with that. I'm just going to show you now how far this is from the actual water source, from the spring, from the seep, and the way that we're going to remedy the issue with the flow stopping sometimes because the gradient isn't enough for it to be gravity fed. So this is a beautiful spot. I'll just give you a slow 360, capturing as much as possible exactly where we are. We've come down low. There's a ravine behind me. There are other videos on the channel showing that in full flood. I'll put a link to those as well. But this is a gorgeous spot to have a vegetable garden and an area for cultivating other crops, as you can see. So we're a long way from civilization. Very, very peaceful down here. 10 kilometers from the nearest small village. Now I would guess, so we're down here now next to the water reservoir. This pipe, by the way, follows an original channel which was made out of small hollowed out tree trunks, which was still there. In fact, I've saved a piece of it, which was the last piece that went in. So all of the run that I'm about to show you now had been done with hollowed out tree trunks like this. This was the last piece, which was running into the reservoir itself. I'm now doing it with plastic piping. It's a shame, but I haven't got the skills to do it as they had originally done. And this new pipe that I put in follows the original route that they had used for their gravity fed system. Now I calculate that it's about 100 meters or so. As you can see, it's really difficult to get an absolute minimum of 2%, which you need for the water to flow. And this is why every couple of weeks or so I have to come down and check it, because we get an air block. Here we've got a nice little bit of a gradient, but here is really difficult. Here, just here, we're very flat. And well, the wildlife does come through. This is absolutely essential just to get it over this flat. A bit of a run down there that gives it enough speed to get up over that hump, and then because here we haven't got enough of a gradient for it to be gravity fed. And when animals knock this, it either comes apart or it creates an airlock. So this is where it runs out of the spring. I've just literally got that created a little bit of a dam there, and the tube runs out of that dam. I'd say 90% of the water coming out of the spring runs into the pipe and makes it down there. We would have more of a flow if we were capturing all of it. We're probably only capturing actually about 80 or 90%. So the solution to this, as far as I can see, is to collect the water into a pumpable state, because it's seeping out of the ground. So we need to get an accumulation of water to be able to pump it from here to the reservoir so that it's more reliable. Now I'm in the process of creating this run across here. This black pipe is so that we can still come down with vehicles. It's going to protect the water pipe that's going to run straight out of there, across there, and into a tank that we have there, because the drop here is enough, just about enough. We get a good flow, we capture all of the water, and it's a shorter run of gravity fed, and it's going to be underground, so it's going to be protected from wildlife. And I will glue this in once this is all. I will glue this all together once this is all set up. So at this point, it's got to run through that pipe, which is especially which vehicles can pass over, and it runs down. This is the idea. If anybody has any suggestions in the design of this, then I'd be, they'd be very welcome, because this obviously requires 2 pumps rather than 1. Now this is a 3,000 litre container of water, so I've already tried this. This is already half full. It runs nicely from the spring down across here and into this container. And the idea is to have a pipe running out of this container, and it's going to have to, it goes up a little bit here, and it's the water from that container that will be pumped into the reservoir with a series of bullcocks and sensors. So there will be a float sensor inside here. So when this is full, the pump will come on. It will pump the water until the level falls below a certain level, and the float sensor will shut it off, and it will pump the water out of here and back along the original pipe that you've seen now, back into the reservoir, 3,000 litres at a time, or 2,500 litres at a time. The water will be running in here constantly from the spring, and so every time this fills up, the pump will come on, pump us 2,500 litres into there, and it'll switch off so that it doesn't run dry until it fills up again. Now there'll be a ballcock in the reservoir with a contact, so that when the reservoir is full, it will also switch this pump off, which means even if this fills up, if the reservoir is full, then this won't pump water, and here we will have an overflow. So the overflow of water will go down here, which is where, before I started all of this, the water originally went. So that's the idea with that. The only drawback is that we need electricity here as well as there. We're going to need, where the reservoir is, we're going to need electricity there, because we need a pump for the irrigation system, and we're going to need a secondary one here. But it's the only way that I can see of creating a reliable flow of water, a reliable flow of water out of the spring into the reservoir. And obviously the ballcock in the reservoir will come down when the irrigation system comes on and uses more than 2 or 3 cubic meters of water, 3,000 litres, 2 or 3,000 litres of water, so that will stop overflowing. That pump will come on and move the water to there. It's the only way I can think of avoiding this issue of a gravity fed system where we haven't got enough of a drop. So that's the plan. Well, I will update on this situation in a new video when we start installing the pump in this container here, this 3,000 litre water deposit. I'll get a video of that installation.